Okay, hello guys. I'm going to be making a Pokemon video today about Mega Starmie. I think this deck has the potential to become a meta deck. You want to get your Starmies out in the early and late game with Froslass to spread your damage around, and with Ada Munkidori you can easily get that done. Mega Froslass to finish late game problems, which I think is pretty useful. Budew to really hold your opponent down if we go second. This deck does go first, but Budew's just to hold your opponent off if we can. Early and late game, mostly early game. Meowth here. I run 2 just because I thought it'd be easier to run 2 so we can really get the supporters out early to late to even mid game. Just depends when you need them. Starmie has the ability of 210, which is really useful even if you do only want to do the 120 to spread damage around. Yes, this is pretty good for trainers. We do run Salvatore if we do go second, which is pretty useful. We do also run Crispin 1. I did remove a copy just because, you don't need to. I think I've rarely used it. For Buddy, for Hilda. Hilda again gets your energy out and your evolutions like Starmie and Ignition and Legacy, so you can really hold your opponent back. For Buddy-Buddy Poffins to really get out there and get your Snorunt and your Staryus. And Poké Pad to really get your monkeys, and Ultra Ball can easily get you your evolutions like Froslass and Mega Starmie. So can Hilda. Risky Ruins is good for first turn. If you place it down and place down a monkey, you can easily move 20. And on your second turn, you can easily kill with Starmie and even Froslass. Night Stretcher to really get your Pokemon back if you get them killed, or if you just need your energy back. Obviously, we run 2 bosses. I don't think I need more than 2 bosses. I've never used more than 2. I've been pretty comfortable with those, as you can just easily bring your opponent up, and even with the spread of Starmie and Froslass and Monkey, you can easily kill your opponent's bench. So didn't need that. I run 2 Froslass just because I think it was easier to run 2 than 1. I've had trouble late game. Pokégear can really get you your Lillies and stuff, but to get your Hildas, which can get your Froslasses, you really want to go first. But if you have to go second, then it's also fine. Again with Budew and Salvatore, you can easily get going. Lillies. This is my draw engine. There's no other really draw engine in this deck besides Meowth and Lillies. Lillies get you comfortably 6 and 8. Pokégear to search out Lillies and Hilda. And then we also run for Ultra Ball for Poké Pad. We run 2 Risky Ruins, again for more damage. And for energy, we run 4. I thought it was easier to really search out 4 energy for your monkey. It's easier to find with off Lillies. 3 water. Again, we run 1 legacy, so it ends up being 4 in a sense. We'd never use Munkidori's attack with anything, but legacy can get you there if you were really in a crappy situation. Froslass, again, we only use the energy for it. Ignition's good for Starmie, because if we, Dragapult, let's say, does 200, we've already done 120, we can easily finish that gap with the 210. And then it just discards anyway, so that's why we run 2, just to really push for those extra 4 prizes if we can get there, which we can easily if we only start with Froslass. I've retreated into that. We run 1 Air Balloon just to really make sure, because we do run those Starmies more often than they're active, just so we can pull it out if we get weak and we want to finish them off with Froslass instead of Ignition. Yeah, so that's usually how this deck works. It's pretty strong. I have had very much success with this deck. I've had some crazy games where it's been close, but I've lost a couple to this game. But I think this deck definitely has the potential to become #1. We just gotta work it out, but I think this... Okay, so jumping into our first game, we are going to be playing Alakazam. So my opponent here does play Alakazam. I'm going second. Kind of unfortunate, but here we go. Okay, my opponent draws this card, and we're off to the races. We, unfortunately, did not get the coin flip, so my opponent will be going first, which is very likely with Alakazam. So, looking at the card here, kind of annoyed. Alakazam always goes first, usually, unless your opponent is lost the coin flip. So, here, my opponent decides to play Fan Rotom, and I did want to get Rocky Cliff or something for the stadium, just so I can easily move damage around with Munkidori. But here my opponent gets everything he wants: the Dunsparce, 3 Abras, and a Fan Rotom. So kind of unlucky, but we'll see what happens here. I think I get Risky Ruins, that's what it's called, and I place it down. But I don't have much to bench, so we'll see what happens. So here my goal is I want to play Ultra Ball to discard my obviously my Snorunt, and I think here's boss's orders. I didn't think I needed it, so now I discard that. And here I decided to get Snorunt. Just want to get a bit serious action going and see what I can change. So perfect. And so now I place that down. I then play Lilies here. I didn't have anything else, and I benched Staryu and Budew. Benching Budew here was a big mistake. I shouldn't have done that, but I did. And you'll see here why it was a mistake, but I benched that. Now you see it has only 20 HP, and conveniently Abra does 10 damage. So here we are a little bit of in a rough situation, but we attach that, we pull out. And this was a little bit of a dumb idea, but I thought I could hold off my opponent for maybe a little bit, but obviously we'll see that did not end up playing out the way I wanted it to. But yeah, so now it's my opponent's turn, and yeah, we're gonna see what happens here. And so now it's clicking in my head my massive mistake, so I'm a little bit frustrated, and I'm just going through, and I'm like, well, here we go, runaway draw. And I realized that this thing is going to die. Poor Budew. Main mistake was benching Budew after playing Risky Ruins. I should have played Budew, Risky Ruins, and kept the Staryu and the Snorunt with the Risky Ruins, because my next turn I could play Crispin or get some sort of card to really push my Munkidoris out there. But my opponent kills, switches into Fanrotom, and I'm suffering for it. But here we are, just looking through. Did 10 damage, and now it's my opponent's turn. And so now it's my turn. I am currently going to play Lily's Determination just to get some extra cards going. And so off this Lily's, I do get a Starmie, Mega Starmie here. So I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to evolve, and I'm just going to figure out what I can do with the cards I have. So looking through, and I attack. So now I attack for 120, and I kill my opponent's benched Pokemon. And I kill that Fanrotom here, and now I'm just looking to play this game, rest the game out. So I take my 2 prizes, and now it is my opponent's turn. He brings up the Dunsparce, and he draws into whatever card he has. My opponent here will Rare Candy into Alakazam. He will Psychic Draw, and he'll see 3 new cards. He will evolve into Kadabra. Again, I should have killed the Dunsparce on the bench. I should have killed the Kadabras. Get a little bit less play for him, but, we live and we learn. So now here he plays on Battle Cage, and again, Starmie is a Mega, and it does 50 damage, not 50 damage counters, so Battle Cage is exempt for this game. It does not affect me. My opponent here will do some damage, so that will be kind of rough. He bosses though, and instead he goes for my Munkidori, as he does not want me to get some damage moved over and kills Kadabras or whatever I can come up with. And so I'm like, okay, not the best situation to be in. I really wanted that Munkidori. But I think here I do end up getting Poké Pad Munkidori. Yeah, so I see I got the Dark, and I'm like, okay, perfect. So I benched the Monkey from my hand, and now I attach the Dark Energy for that extra damage. Now here I should have moved the damage over to my opponent's Alakazam on the active for that 20. You'll see why in a moment here, but that was a big mistake, as Battle Cage does exempt my Munkidori from putting damage on my opponent's bench. So I benched Staryu here, and I'm just like, I'm realizing my mistake here, that I should have moved the damage over, and I have no other cards to play. So here I go for the attack, and I do place a deal on my opponent's bench. So I will see 1 new prize card here, and it's a Hilda. So I'm like, okay, that's pretty good. Next turn, we'll have to get a Staryu out with maybe even Legacy Energy. But I don't think Legacy will even come to play here. I think eventually I do, in this gameplay, I do switch over to Hero Escape. I'll just give you guys some fresh perspective to see if that is even a card you guys would want to consider. So here I am. My opponent gets Enriching and another Alakazam. So he evolves. And I think I'm realizing here the math. My opponent will see enough cards to KO me this turn. So I'm a little upset. They'll leave him down to 1. And I am starting to realize here that I'm probably going to lose this game, as my opponent will KO me here. And then I'll bring up my Staryu, evolve into Starmie, attach Legacy, but that will only, allow him to kill my next one for 2 prizes. So I'm thinking maybe I could do Munkidori, but I'm realizing that's not going to really help me much in this situation, unless they have bosses, but I need to play Hilda for that Legacy. So right now, my opponent's just finishing up his turn. He Poké Pads for a Dunsparce, which not the greatest moment to be in, but he will do Runaway Draw here, I'm pretty sure. Yep, you want to see those extra cards. Very good on my opponent. He benched Togepi there. He benches Shaman, and the reason I look at this card is I can put damage on Pheasant or EX Pokemon, but anything like Togepi, Dunsparce, or Alakazam, I will not be able to put damage on because of that Shaman. So now I'm thinking, okay, well, I'm going to have to target down the Shaman. But I obviously have to focus on my opponent here. I could have killed him, and it would have been a bit of a crappier situation from to be in. Even back then, when I had killed his Dunsparce, I could have killed his Alakazam. So this game here, lots of mistakes, lots of errors that I could have improved on. And so here, I move the damage. I kill my opponent, but that won't really suffice to win this game. I'm more than confident at this point, and I know inside that I've lost this game due to some very major errors there. I could have definitely won this game here. As you can see, the reason why I'm showing this game is that this deck does lose, but those games that I lost, I could have done better, and I could have had a chance to win. So my opponent here will be reaping the benefits of winning the game. I attached Legacy, but I'm realizing here the math, you know, just doesn't even really add up. But I think I will eventually let my opponent just take the win here. Much deserved. At this point, me wanted to be like, well, you know, I played like crap. He definitely deserved this win. You don't deserve a win if you're going to be playing like this all the time. So I attach, and I just go for this. And know that I just, you know, place it wherever, get shielded. And I now realize I definitely lost the game. So my opponent draws. And now he kind of just takes advantage of the fact that he knows so he's going to go for that Dunsparce. He's going to evolve, and I realize that most Alakazam decks do play Wondrous Patch, and they also do tend to play more than 3 energies. My deck list only consisted of 3, but with Wondrous Patch, you can easily bridge that gap with 2, making it kind of like 5 energies. Now, here's a shocker, though. My opponent does attach that Enriching Energy to the bench and evolves it to Togekiss. But I'm realizing here that my opponent doesn't have a way to bring up... The Wondrous Patch only works if you're benched, so he draws his extra cards here with Rare Candy, and he plays Wondrous Patch. I'm like, okay, that's fantastic. What are you going to do? And my opponent plays Switch. Unfortunately, that will close out Game 1, but as you can see, I had a very good chance of winning if I had just played a little bit better. So, in this game, I will be going first, so... That's pretty good. My opponent draws his cards. I draw my cards. And here I get a pretty good starting hand. I get a Staryu and a Munkidori, which I do bench with my other Staryu. And so we take our prize cards. And now I see my opponent has a pretty good hand. Well, a pretty good starting Pokemon. I have not seen this in a Team Rocket's deck. But I assume it's a Team Rocket's deck because, I mean, it's Team Rocket's Pokemon. You would also want to combine it with the other good cards. So my opponent here does, and I do end my turn here. And I'm thinking, okay, like Crispin, I need Crispin, Snorunt, and I'm just going through my cards, and I'm like, I have the resources here to seek out Crispin and other resources that could prove valuable to me. And so here I look at my opponent's thing, and I'm making sure he can't attack me, which wouldn't be so bad here because I do want to play Hilda over something like Crispin to pull Staryu out of the active and KO that. I'm watching my opponent's hand here, though, as I'm looking through his Pokemon. I'm trying to monitor and keep track of how much damage I'm doing to my opponent, which here I am doing, I think he has 8 cards or 7 cards here. I think it's about 6 to 8. And here he doesn't kill, so I'm like, okay, so Crispin, and I need Ultra Ball. So I have the resources here to KO my opponent's active here, which could prove valuable. Now, but I'm thinking, maybe I could play Staryu, or like a Mega Starmie, but I'm like, you know what, fine, we'll just go the Crispin route. I think this is the best option and the safest option for me. So that's what I do here, and I take the Dark. It doesn't matter how I do this order, as long as I attach the water to my Snorunt, and I attach the Dark for retreat into my Snorunt to my Staryu. And so here I do that, and I think I play Ultra Ball here. And basically from this point out, I have a pretty good prize lead. Now I do have Megas, so my opponent does have a very good chance of winning this game still. I just have a good head start on prizing, which can prove useful with Mega Starmie getting that early game lead, which is why I kind of limited my hand to a weaker hand, just to really push myself towards that eventual lead, right? If your opponent has a lead and you're playing Mega, that lead is going to quickly go, and Starmie, it can be a fast deck. It can build up that damage faster than your opponent's side of the board, but with Staryu, I mean, you got to be very careful here. My opponent does shift my hand away, so now my hand is not as good as it was, but I'm not too upset. I do have some good cards, and now I'm just looking for my next KO, which I do have. I am more than confident I will be able to play. I'm looking at my opponent's hand here. I am a little concerned about him wasting his hand away, but he does have 2 cards, and now I'm looking for that 20 damage. So here I do play Attach, and I do play Poké Pad. For that Snorunt, I do want to eventually place in that Froslass and build up damage on my opponent's side of the board. He is playing Team Rocket's deck, so that amount of damage can add up. And here I move the 30 over my opponent, and now I swing for that 100 to KO my opponent for that extra prize. And right now, the reason why I'm doing all this work is I'm just trying to build that prize lead, right? Building that prize lead is very important with this deck, I found. Right, if I'm down a lot of prizes and my opponent takes, 1 or 2, I find that Legacy can't really do its effect. So here in this round, I am playing Hero's Cape, but I am just looking to see what options I do have, which I think is just here building a prize lead and ensuring that I can really keep my win going here for me. So, yeah, my opponent's playing like absolute dog shit right now. He has no cards, and now I am again just looking at how I can kill him, which I do know I have that option right now. As long as my opponent keeps those 2 cards in his hand, he is more than fucked. Because I can definitely move that 30 over off my Staryu, which did prove useful, that attack damage. Even though I kind of wanted my Staryu to die, so I had to play the Crispin route, and I would have a stronger hand. I am not too upset with this, the way it's going. So now it's my turn, and my opponent does have 2 cards in hand. So now I am looking for that snipe here. I place this down, and then I just play Brain. I'm just trying to build more damage. Again, this deck is just building damage and trying to get your opponent to weaken themselves to the point where you can win. So I move that 30 over to his Spit Ops. And I very quickly kill that Spit Ops with the 100 damage for the 2 cards in his hand. Again, Froslass can be a really good early game starter if you want to get those early, 3 or 2 prize leads, which you'll see later. I have one more game to show you after this one. A very quick one, but it'll show you that Froslass is a really good game finisher, but it can be a really good game starter. As you can see here, I'm taking some big prize leads here. I'm looking to see how much damage you can do. Just trying to see like what kind of options I have, if he'll KO me, if I have to really hope I draw something good here. But I have Ultra Ball, and I'm more than confident that I can play a Meowth if he kills to get the Hilda for Ignition. Although at the moment right now, Ignition would not do too much for me, as my opponent does not have more than 70 HP. So now I'm looking to get that 70 damage, and I do reach that, I'm pretty sure, here. My opponent does have, I think, 1 or 2 cards in hand. So I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to move over to this damage here. I do put it on the active Team Rockets here. I was debating, but I figured this is the best option. As right now, I do not have Mega Starmie in play, so there's no useful way in putting the damage on my opponent's bench. Here, I'm debating playing Ultra Ball, but instead I just go for the 50 here, ensuring that I can get that 110 and that 210 KO later with Meowth. So now I'm very happy with my position. My opponent is racking up damage on the other side of the board, and I'm hoping to go with Starmie next turn to definitely finish out this game. Well, either way, I'll need to go for that play here of discarding using Ultra Ball here. So either way here, I had no option but to let him kill, but I was kind of curious about him drawing those cards. I was thinking maybe he ditched them, but he knew I had no other Snorunt, and there's no point to weaken his hand, which is good. Again, something I like to point out with Mega Froslass is your opponent really weakens his hand, right? Discarding all those cards so you can't knock him out, right? He's discarding everything he can, just grabbing whatever he can. He's not really thinking about, what am I going to discard or whatnot. He's just discarding to discard, so you don't have that advantage over him. So here I get Meowth. I look to make sure I have Hilda and Ignition Energy, which I do have. You'll see here I'm playing Hero's Cape over other ace spec such as Legacy Energy. So here I play Last Ditch Catch, and I do grab a Hilda for game here. And I'll play that. I will go for a Starmie and Ignition. My opponent still has not realized. Usually my opponents would resign here once they realize my plan. So I go forth and I just move the damage over to my opponent just for some fun. I did not need to do that, but he can fuck himself because it does not bother me. So pretty good, pretty fast game here. Took a bit of time to get things started. My opponent was playing a little bit slow, but so was I. Just trying to make sure I have the right steps and the right approach. Here I take my last 2 prize cards, and I'm very happy with this game. This just shows how strong and fast this deck can build a lead and ensure that win later on. Okay, so going into our third and final game here, we are playing my my opponent here. I'm pretty sure here I do go first. So, okay, so my opponent has let me go first, which is exactly what I would like to do. I draw my cards here, and I'm a little frustrated. Not the best hand, but I am looking to take advantage of whatever I can here to get that game going. So, all good. My opponent flips over a Mega Absol, and I draw Staryu. Perfect. So far, so good. I do play this, and I do decide to get 2 Snorunt. Again, I want to get that Froslass and build damage. I see that my opponent is playing Mega Absol, so I do want to kind of build those damage on his ability Pokemon, which I know he does have many of. So I attach here. I was debating an attachment, but I figured that I should just attach, and that way next turn I do have a play with Hilda. So very good stuff so far. My opponent here takes a little bit of time. I think he had a not too good of a hand, but that's all good. Just means I will probably be able to close out this game. He does play Pokégear, and unfortunately my opponent does not draw into a trainer here. I was thinking maybe he would, because I would like him to get more cards, but my opponent only has 4 cards right now. So we will not be able to get the knockout on this active, but we will be able to put pressure on my opponent either way here. We do have Poké Pad for Snorunt, and again, like I said earlier, Hilda for that evolution into Mega Froslass. So right now, I do draw Pokégear, but instead, I do play Pokégear, sorry. I do grab that Lillie's, and now I'm thinking about next play. I do evolve into Mega Starmie. I play Poké Pad to get that Snorunt in Froslass starting to play. And after I get that Froslass into play, I am looking towards my opponent's Latias, which I do realize will be a major asset. Maybe I can knock that out, but I did play Hilda, so bosses is not an option this game, or this turn at least. So now here I attach to Froslass. I was debating Starmie to build damage, as my opponent is not going to be able to, I'm not going to be able to kill him. But I decide that swinging in for Mega Froslass is a great way to start the game. Big hitters, get some big numbers on his weaker Mega, because again, this deck does have weaker Megas, so just hoping to get that. And my Mega Froslass does have a weaker HP, so I'm hoping maybe my opponent can kill me, so I can maybe get another Snorunt or into play next turn, so I can build up that damage. But here my opponent just plays Cyrano to get 3 EXs, which I do know in my head that he will have more EX, more cards for me to attack. Now here, my opponent does play Meowth. He does get his Crispin, which then I was a little upset about. But then again, like I said earlier, Crispin's great here for me. He knocks me out, and it's all good, right? I do have that damage too over on to the monkey to move over and finish him off. But my opponent does resign here. So after that game, I did beat my opponent off again. Poor bastard. But here we are looking at Hero Escape. Hero Escape is a good option for this deck. Now, there are other good options. Hero Escape does allow you to take a couple hits. Here you could replace, cut out the Hero Escape again for another Legacy Energy instead. It's preference, honestly. Do you like more HP to do more damage, or do you want to just let your opponent take that KO so you can build damage with Froslass? Now, here you could cut Crispin, Ultra Ball, maybe even add Crispin, just so you can play more Munkidoris, or even cut an Ultra Ball for an extra Crispin. I would definitely cut Salvatore in the future. for an extra, maybe Stadium. I think that could prove useful. Or even just an extra Froslass. Or even an extra Crispin, so you can really get those monkeys going down with Poké Pad. Or even just an extra Froslass versus a Mega Froslass, maybe cutting one. So now I'm going to show you that this deck has done me very well. I started around 100, so I think around Snom level. And I've been able to climb my way up, all the way up to the Master League, which I've done with this deck and this deck only. I have played a little bit with this deck, which I will be posting and covering about next week. I'm still working on a final deck list to really see what I want to play with that. Again, you can take multiple hits with Dragapult, so this deck could use her cape very well.